Henry and the rest of the Geek Speak Show crew here for the Geek Speak Video Show at Lee's Comics in Mountain View as they celebrate the 30-year anniversary. They even got the world-famous Lee's Frisbees all for you. If you do the Comic Slam, you got that coming up. You got a one-on-one interview with Lee. You find out about the store, about everything, the sales going on. 30 cents comics. You heard me, 30, correct. 30 cents comics. So come on down. If you're watching this Monday, well, you already missed it. But you can still come on down on Wednesday, any other day. Lee's Comics in Mountain View and in San Mateo. So let's go have some fun with Lee. Lee's here with me. Talk to him in just a second. But let's go back to 1982. Great summer for films. We had Star Trek II. Just talked to Nicholas Meyer a few weeks ago on the show. Rocky III, E.T. We had The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. We had The Secret of NIMH, The Dark Crystal. We had Madonna debuted as an artist and as a virgin. Michael Jackson's Thriller debuted. We had the first CD player, and Lee opened Lee's Comics. So first of all, Lee, congratulations on 30 years.
Thank you, Henry.
And let's go back to 1982, or actually to 1981. What were you doing before you decided to open the comic book store?
Oh, boy, I was not doing much. I graduated from high school in 1979, and I was just taking a succession of menial, odd jobs, delivery. You know, I didn't really have any prospects whatsoever. So I was just kicking around in 1981.
Yeah, the obvious question is, were you a comic book reader?
Definitely. Big comic book fan. Collected comic books. I don't think I could do this. I could have done this unless I was a comics fan and a comic book reader.
Yeah, what made you finally decide, let me go from reader to comic book seller?
Yeah, well, I was a part-time seller, you know, a very minor seller. And, you know, I sold comics at conventions and flea markets and so forth, you know, 1 or 2 days a week. And I just kind of did it on the spur of the moment.
And were these your comics, or where did you get the comics from?
Yeah, they're mostly my comics to begin with, a small collection, and eventually I started getting them from a distributor. And it was a very small store tucked away in the back of Alma Plaza in Palo Alto.
How big was this one?
700 square feet.
And how long were you there at the first location?
I was there for a while. I was there from 1982 through 1990.
No, we were talking before we started. Back in 82, direct retailers for comic books, they were sort of new. Was it pretty easy for you to convince the landlord to say, hey, I'm going to open a comic book store? And did he look at you like, you're going to open a what?
No, it was nearly impossible. In fact, I went to the landlord and you know, told him I wanted to lease the building. At the time, the rent was $300 a month. And this was in Alma Plaza. And he wanted me to get a cosigner because I had no credit history. I didn't have any money either. Yeah. So I went to my parents, and they said no. So I went back to the guy, and I said I couldn't get a cosigner. Well, he let me do it anyway because the building was mostly empty. Alma Plaza was mostly empty. So he took a chance. What did he have to lose? An empty building or a guy that may or may not pay?
Yeah, and so finally when you did get it open, tell us some stories. If you remember the very first day, what was that like?
Yeah, I had a sign out. I put signs all over the neighborhood, and I could show you my first flyer, by the way. I have a copy of it. But I posted those all over the neighborhood. I had video games inside the store initially, and it was very slow. We did $150 on the first day, which was great. But then thereafter,
$1 framed?
Pardon?
The first dollar you ever made?
No, I didn't save it. Everybody else did, but I didn't save my first dollar. But then the next day was like $14. I mean, I have all the sales records I kept on binder paper. Mm-hmm. We didn't have a cash register. It was very primitive. And it took a long time to build up to a decent business enterprise.
Yeah, and any the first month, couple of months, did you ever say what I get myself into?
Yeah, well, everybody considered it to be a failure. Everybody. And even a couple years into it, it was a huge failure. So, but it's not like I had anything else to do, so I just kept doing it. And eventually it wasn't so bad. It took about 5 years before it was just like a desperate failure.
Yeah.
But I hung on to it, and I would I would bounce the rent check, and then I'd bounce the check to my supplier. I'd bounce the phone check. I just barely was hanging on. So just somehow I juggled it, and since they never shut the door down, threw me out, put a lock on it, posted a guard at the door, then I continued because that didn't happen.
Yeah. When you first opened the original store, did you focus only on comic books, or did you have T-shirts and all the stuff that we find in the stores now?
No, it was the store was new comic books on the walls, and some people might remember the original Alma Plaza. I heard from people that remembered going in there, but it was new comics on the walls, back issues in the middle, and at the time there were very few graphic novels, and we didn't really have access or the budget to buy toys and T-shirts and all that stuff until later. We got into it as we evolved. We got more into that.
How many employees did you have in the original store?
Me.
Just you?
It was all me. So if I had to take a break, I'd
You had to
put
close the store?
back in 5 minutes, and I'd have to wait till people left. You know, I'd have my lunch right up there, and I worked 7 days a week in the store, not a single day off.
When did you move to the second location?
Okay, in 1987, I was driving around and with a friend of mine on El Camino. We were buying CDs, and there was a for rent sign, and I had my friend stop the car, and I got out and copied down the number. 2 weeks later, we were open for business. That's 1987, and that store is still there to this day, and so it's celebrating its 25th anniversary.
Yeah, and the location we're at now, Mountain View. When did this one open?
Okay, this is my third location in the general vicinity. So in 1990, we moved to El Camino in Palo Alto, and we stayed there until 2000. So this one opened right around 9/11. So it turned out to be some bad timing for us.
Yeah.
And we opened up twice the size. We used to have this all the way to the Goldilocks, but the economy was really suffering and the rent was killing us. So we cut down to this size, but this still would be our largest store ever.
Yeah.
Each time you do a new store, and I've done 4 now, you try to make it better than the last time. Just like when you buy a new car, you try to make it better than your last car.
Right.
Or your new house is a little better than your last house, your new apartment's better.
Or a little
Yeah.
bigger,
It,
in this case. Or a
Yeah.
little bigger also.
well, better. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a good facility because there's tons of parking, and it's modern kind of warehouse type deal. Got a lot of great neighbors. So this is, when I lost the Palo Alto lease, this is the best thing I could get.
Yeah, and you can find them, by the way, on L Comics, stands for Lee, of course, on the web. And on there are pictures of some signings of the special events that you've had. When did you start doing that, and at what stores?
I started that all the way back in Alma Plaza. We didn't have any really big guests there, but I've always wanted to get signings going. Always been interested in that. Some of the big names we've had at Lee's Comics, Alex Ross, he's been here 5 times, and he also designed our logo, and it's an Alex Ross shirt that we're giving out today as well with another design that he did. We've had Jim Lee here, George Perez, Steranko, Dan Klaus, a whole bunch of others. I try to get my goal is to get all the popular and well-known artists in here. Yeah. So there's a few big names that I'd still very much like to get.
Yeah, around the time you opened the Mountain View store, around the time 9/11 happened, around that time was also when Free Comic Book Day came around.
Yes.
Did that, in your opinion, did that really help the comics industry?
Yeah, I think Free Comic Book Day is one of the best things that ever happened for the comic book industry. It's created by Joe Field of Flying Colors, and it was just a work of genius. And the way he got everybody together was wonderful. And now the kind of publicity we get, the industry gets for Free Comic Book Day is marvelous. I mean, and we're set up right out here on Free Comic Book Day, just like this. And we have like 1,000 people come by. It's amazing. So we just love it. It's in all the papers. Me and all the other dealers, we do big gang ads in all the papers. So it's our biggest day of the year. So got to thank Joe Field for that. It's just colossal.
Yeah. Well, hi, Joe. Good friend of the show, also. And also, I imagine it doesn't hurt the comic book movies that have been coming out, like the Avengers is a little one that came out this year, and then you had the X-Men movies, Spider-Man movies. I'm sure those helped also.
Oh yeah, comic books are bigger than ever. Everybody knows these characters. Avengers is one of the biggest movies ever. I think Batman's going to be colossal. I'm really looking forward to it. Spider-Man. So people know these characters. And I'm sure Stan Lee must be really proud because a lot of his characters are now household names, and that's something he must have dreamed about in the 60s when he created all these characters. And of course, then the DC characters, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and the others are just iconic, and they're from a previous generation.
Right.
But I think Stan Lee's Marvel comics, they speak to the current generation.
Right. And then, like you said, it is a good time to be a comic book fan, and old and new. But not the industry, but comic books, they did go through a rough time, I'll say, around mid 80s, early 90s, I would say. How did Lee's survive that when readers started going away? How did you guys survive that?
All right, it was 1993. The peak of things was April 1993. May is when it fell. And what happened is speculation. People were buying these things in the hopes of reselling them for a profit. And stores were buying large amounts of these things too. You had, I don't know if this was the correct book, but X-Force, X-Factor, X-Men #1, The Death of Superman. And I've seen people go under because they bought such huge quantities in anticipation of their customers buying huge quantities. And it was all like tulip mania. It was just speculation. So that's no way to sustain a market on the collectible is great, but what you need is readers. So now people are just buying to read, and I think that's a lot more solid and sustainable. You have a lot of great reading material coming out now too. Walking Dead, I love Why the Last Man.
Yeah.
The independents I think are on the rise right now too. So there's some really solid stuff to read. I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah, and you like you said, comic books are pretty popular right now. You think it's going to be around for a while, or will it eventually die out again?
Well, it never really died out. I mean, you had an artificial spike in it. When it seemed like everyone was buying them, they were selling 7 million copies or something of Spawn 1 or X-Men 1. No one was reading 7 million. There was 100,000 of these things being read. So I think comic books will be around. It's a unique American art form. Started around the same time movies started, when you come right down to it, about 1900 with the comic strips. So comics are going to be around. Movies will be around, books will be around. They're going to change, but they're going to be around.
One of those changes is going digital. Does that frighten you in any way as a comic book owner?
It's going to change things for sure. I mean, like very few of us buy CDs anymore, so that's gone all digital. There's something about reading a book that I like reading the book. I like the book in hand, but maybe it'll shift over so people don't feel that way. They just as soon read it on a tablet or on a laptop or whatever. I'm hoping that there'll be some people that still like to read the physical product, and if not, I figure I'll get more into the collectible aspect. Like, the early vintage books are all available in reprints, but if you follow it at all, stuff like Amazing Fantasy 15 with the first Spider-Man, hotter than ever.
Yeah.
One of them sold in high grade for over $1 million. Action Comics 1 going for record money. Now, I don't know if I can get to that realm where I have like high grade Action 1, but the amount of money that's worth is bigger than my whole business enterprise is currently. So there's room to go into the collectible if people completely abandon the physical format for casual reading. So that's the way I'll go. And plus, I've been doing this for 30 years, and if it goes away, I'll happily retire.
Yeah, and let's get into the retail side of it now. You obviously know what you're doing to be here 30 years later. There are a lot of stores, comic book stores in San Francisco and around the Bay Area. Unfortunately, we made friends with them, but then we saw them close their doors. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who wants to open a comic book store now?
The best time to open a comic book store is the best time to buy a house, which is 20 years ago. So do it 20 years ago and you'll be fine.
Okay. And what do you think sets Lee's Comics apart from every other store in the Bay Area?
Consistency. I mean, and it doesn't set us apart from all the stores. I mean, there's other stores that have done the same thing, which is consistency. It helps to be around a long time, to have a name that people recognize. If you carry all the product and you give good service, we try to do all those things. And we try to carry any kind of comic or graphic novel that you might want. Ancillary products, we have long hours, good locations, friendly service. So if you're into comics, this place is for you. We want to serve you. So I think that's what's kept us going, is all the fans that come in, and we're able to provide what they need.
Is there any kind of book you won't carry at least?
No. Currently, no. I'll carry anything that's either good or saleable.
Okay.
I will not carry a book if it's not good or saleable. So if it's really bad and we cannot sell a single copy, then we won't carry it. But if it's something really objectionable that sells, we'll carry it.
Okay. So we have kind of an audience here. We might open it up to some questions here, but let me start off with a couple of just generic questions. The first one is, what is Lee's favorite comic book?
Boy, that's a tough one. I started off, I'll tell you. My favorite comic book is Blankets. It's a graphic novel by Craig Thompson, and it's one of the largest original graphic novels, and it's just wonderfully done. It's very touching, and I really enjoyed it. I like Mouse by Art Spiegelman. Watchmen, I love Watchmen. Why the Last Man. I like anything by Steranko. I'm a big fan of Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And going back a ways, I'd say Spider-Man. The run of Spider-Man 1 through 100, that's one of the greatest sustained runs in the history of comics. Fantastic Four by Lee and Kirby. Really wonderful stuff, too. I like Daredevil by Kirby and Colin. So I started off on DC Comics with Superman. So I love the Kurt Swan Supermans. I'm a big fan of all that stuff.
Yeah, if somebody comes in after have just seen The Amazing Spider-Man or The Avengers, and they ask you or one of your employees, hey, I like The Avengers, I like Spider-Man, where do I find out more? Where do I start? What book would you suggest? What title?
Well, how about at the beginning? Like with Spider-Man, you could get either a really nice reprint of all the original issues in color, like one of the omnibuses, or you could get the essentials that are much cheaper in black and white. So I'd say start at the beginning, see how these characters came to be. Because me, I love history, and I want to find out the origins and the earliest stuff. And when they first came up with them, there's something really, really primal to these characters. So I would start at the beginning and then ask my staff for what's going on now, because that's something I don't know.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, let's ask and meet the staff now. So we'll do that. We'll have Ariel, Amanda, and who else? Ariel, Louise, I think, is somewhere out there. So we'll do that. We'll meet the Lee's staff. Lee, thanks a lot. Congratulations again on 30 years. And again, L Comics, Lee, stand for Lee. You're on Twitter, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Liam Hester, and I'm on Facebook, Lee's Comics. And you can go to the website, sign up for my weekly newsletter. But I really thank you for including me in your broadcast.
Yeah, thank you for letting us come here. And again, congratulations on that. Going to get a little bit more cake, whatever's left of it. Whenever you can, not just on Wednesday, anytime, come on down. You're open weekends also?
We're open 7 days a week.
What are the hours?
Hours are 11 till 7 every day, except shipment day, which is 10 till 9.
So there
Shipment
you go.
day is Wednesday, of course.
Yeah, 2 locations, San Mateo, Mountain View. Again, on the web, everything is on there. So thanks again, Lee. And so we talked to Lee from Lee's Comics 30 years later, celebrating the 30-year anniversary. Now a friend of Lee's, writer, comic historian, and just cool guy, Mark Arnold. Hi, Mark.
Hi,
Thanks for
how are
joining
you?
us.
Good to see
So
you.
first of all, tell us about the books that you've written.
Written about 6 books now. First book was about Harvey Comics. They're the publishers of Casper and Richie Rich. I used to do a fanzine for 21 years about that comic book company because I thought it was severely neglected. And so my first book was a best of that fanzine. Then that book caught the eye of Bear Manor Media, which is a book publisher, and they wanted me to do a book based on an article that I wrote about Underdog once. And so I did a book about the history of Underdog called Total Television, and talks about Tennessee Tuxedo and all those cartoons like that. Then they wanted me to do, I'm all over the map. They did, they found out that I had every issue of Cracked magazine. I love humor magazines. I have every issue of Mad and things like that. So did a 2-volume history of Cracked magazine. Also a big Beatle fan, so I did my opinions of all the Beatles music. And my current book is about Walt Disney Productions after Walt died and before Michael Eisner took over.
Which is actually a period that hasn't been covered.
Yeah, it's neglected period. They usually say, well, Disney died, and then nothing happened, and then Eisner took over. And I was like, well, there's more to it than that. So I try to pick subjects people don't touch on, because people, like when I wrote the Crack book, people said, why didn't you write a book about Mad? Well, there have been books about Mad. I wanted to write something that was a little bit different. So.
And those Crack books actually can be found here at Lee's. I've seen it myself.
Yes.
This Disney one, is it out now? Or
No, I'm working on that one now.
Okay. When can
I'm
we expect
trying to get it done by the end of this year. I have until May of next year to finish it. So working on it a little bit every day. So
So let's talk a little. Where can we find more about you, your books, and everything else about you?
Well, I have. I'm on Facebook. I have a page for each one of my books, so you can actually look. My books are for sale at Lee's and also on Amazon and in other comic book stores. You can also find me on what is my website? Funideas.50webs.com. It's kind of a complicated one, and it just shows all my various projects. And I have a blog as well, fun-ideas.blogspot.com. And so I'm pretty active. I do a lot of different things.
Yeah, so he's online everywhere. Or just go to the Facebook. I'm sure there's links
Yes.
that. So like I mentioned in the intro, you are a friend of Lee's. So tell us how that friendship started. And
Well, I knew about Lee's Comics all the way back at the beginning. In fact, Lee didn't even have the flyer for his own store. I found it a few years ago after my mom passed away. She had it in her stuff, and it said, "Coming soon, Lee's Comics on Alma." And I said, "Do you want a copy of this?" And he goes, "Sure." So he has it in the archives now. I probably found that at some comic convention back in the early '80s. And I never went into the store in Alma. It was when he moved to El Camino Real and Alex Ross was doing one of the signings. I got on the mailing list and I showed up and got the autographs and things like that. Years later, I was doing newspaper advertising. Local paper at the time was called Palo Alto Daily News. And I went into Lee's and said, "Hey, would you like to take out some ads?" And Lee said no. And he was impressed because I said, okay, and then I went and proceeded to look at the comic books on the shelf, and I bought a few. He was impressed that I actually had an active interest in it. I wasn't just a sales rep that was like, "Oh, you're not buying an ad? See ya." So he liked that, because most people come in and say, "Would you like to buy an ad?" "No." Okay. Right. See you later. They have no interest in comic books. So we sparked up a friendship. We found we have similar tastes, like old movies, things like that, like seeing movies at the Stanford Theater when they had their old movie runs and things like that. So And every time Lee has a sale or some sort of big gathering, or sometimes he's taking me to San Diego, I'll work for him, selling his comics and things like that. But I'm not an official full-time employee. I just work anytime he has a sale or some sort of promotion going on.
But you obviously were a comic book reader beforehand.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you visited some other comic book
Oh,
stores?
yeah. In fact, his major competitor when he started was Comics and Comics, and that was the comic book store. And so I knew about that. There's a comic book
I should
store.
remember it, too.
Yeah. There's also a comic book store long gone that I used to go to all the time because I'm down in the San Jose area called Comics and Fantasies. And I lived in San Francisco for a time, so I went to stores up there. So the only time I saw Lee in the early years before we became friends was at conventions because he would show up there, and it wasn't until like the Alex Ross signing, like I said, that I finally ventured to the store itself. Now it's become my store of choice just because we're friends and he has a great selection and other stuff. So
$1 million question. If you weren't friends, would it still be your favorite store?
yes, yeah.
What sets this one apart?
Thing I like about Lee's comic store, and if I didn't even know him at all, is he has very fair grading, very fair pricing on his comics. I like older comics. I do buy the new stuff, but the new stuff you can find almost anywhere. So that I'm more concerned about what people have in the back issue bins. And I tend to collect stuff that's not your typical stuff. I mean, yeah, I like the superhero stuff, but it's not my main thing. I like basically anything but. I like EC horror comics. I like comic books based on TV shows. I like humor magazines. I like the Harvey stuff, Archie, that type of thing. And Lee has a basic overall, good supply of everything. And especially in recent times, has been buying big collections and stuff like that. So yeah, if I didn't even know Lee, I'd go here because I go, wow, great deals. And I have friends that live across country, and they've only seen Lee like in San Diego and stuff like that. They go, wow, that's so cool. You live right in that area. I know you can order things online off his websites and stuff like that, but, So, and the other thing I like about it, and there's a couple other comic stores in the area that are this way, I like a comic store that's clean. And it seems like traditionally, and they kind of make fun of that on The Simpsons, is like they have the comic store guy as kind of a sleazy comic book merchant, and he has kind of a dirty store, meaning, filthy, not dirty like, but Lee keeps it clean and family friendly and stuff like that. So, it's easy to move around, easy to look at things. The help is willing to tell you, what's coming out and, assist you with any questions you have, things like that.
I gotta say, I do like that also about Lee's store because way back when we first started 30 years ago, I used to go to stores in San Francisco also.
Yeah.
And they were, like you said, dirty, and they also had the stacks of the boxes, which, if you poked at them or something, looked like they were all fall on top of you.
Right.
And here, everything is, you can find things, I'll put it that way. So that's what I like about this store.
I've had horror stories. Like, this is what kept me out of certain comic stores. They're becoming too friendly with my friendly neighborhood comic book dealer. Is like when I was 12 years old, one of the magazines I liked was Crazy. Marvel published Crazy magazine. It was a Mad Magazine ripoff. And I remember one time one of the issues was late. And I was like 12 years old, and I went into the store, and it wasn't Lee's, I'll say that. And I said, hey, this issue's late. And the guy behind the counter actually said, although I'll clean it up for television, why do you read that crap? And it's like, he didn't say crap, he was that blunt about it. And I go, wow, it's like, this is something I'm reading, I like, and I'm paying you money that I can buy it from your store, and you're telling me that. Wow. And that stuck with me. I mean, I've told Lee that story. He goes, wow, none of my employees would ever do that. Say that whatever somebody's reading is trash or garbage or anything like that. Because everybody has different tastes. Some people like manga, some people like Archie Digest, some people like superheroes only, whatever. It's like you can't sit there and say, oh, that's not good to read.
Yeah. You do find everything here at Lee's Comics. So again, Mark, thanks a lot. A good friend of Lee's, and your web, or we'll just say the Facebook. There's a link on there.
Yeah,
everything. I think on our Facebooks you can go there and find our likes, and they'll find yours.
Yeah.
If they don't know, so you guys can.
You can find my books on Amazon, and I'm even on Wikipedia if you want to look me up there. So
yeah, so he's everywhere, including right here on the Geek Speak Video Show. So again, 30 years of Lee's. That cake you guys saw earlier, that's probably gone by now. That was Mark's surprise to Lee, so thank you for that. And
I
looking to the camera,
Goldilocks next door, and Linda Rose was very helpful in getting that.
Let me have you look into the camera and give Lee his 30-year anniversary.
Okay.
Congratulations, whatever you want to tell him.
Hi, Lee. I want to thank you for 30 years, and hopefully there's 30 more at least to come.
And now we are talking to Joe from Mightyville.com. Hey, Joe, you've been on the show before on the podcast.
I have, yes.
And now we get to see your pretty face hidden behind a hat and sunglasses.
Hello, everybody.
He's trying to remain anonymous.
Yeah. Keep myself off the papers.
That's right. So you've come out for the 30th anniversary event. You guys have been hanging out for a while. What do you think?
Yes, it's great. Actually, this is a really great turnout. I'm very impressed by what Lee's has put together here. It's our favorite store in the Bay Area. A lot of energy in there, a lot of great sales. I've picked up about $100 worth of stuff already, so I'd say it's been a successful trip.
And have you flipped through the 30-cent bins?
I did. I picked up one book from the 30-cent bins, an old Daredevil, and then I
Nice.
picked up a Jack Kirby Captain America from the 30% off bins, which is actually one of the main reasons I came. Yeah.
Sweet. Oh, nice find there. I like
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
All right. And you got your Frisbee?
I did. We got our Frisbee.
Perfect. All
We're throwing
right.
that around later.
Excellent. And now you guys just had Mightyville.com launch on Wednesday. There were fireworks and
Yep.
everything. It was amazing.
That was all for us. All the fireworks you heard out there, the barbecue smell, that was all in celebration of the launch of Mightyville.com.
That's right. And so how's the site going?
It's going really well so far. We've had a pretty successful launch. No hiccups or anything like that. We've had some traffic in the last few days, which has also been pretty good. Great news. So there's been a lot of
Excellent.
people in and out of the site. So it's
I
been
like
good.
it. I like it. And then you're hoping that more people come and check it out and
Definitely.
And what are they going to find there?
They are going to find pretty much something for everybody. So depending on how deep your interests and love for comic books goes, we've got something for everybody. So for the most hardcore fan, we've got some quizzes on there that are actually really difficult because I went through my entire collection trying to find the right questions to ask. We've also got a lot of movie reviews. We got live art videos by Tone Rodriguez, one of our favorite creators also. All kinds of stuff like
Excellent.
that. Interactivity is what we're hoping for.
And now are you guys going to be covering this event on the site as well?
Yes.
You'll do a write-up?
Yep. We are going to write an article about our trip here. We're also going to head over to Lee's Comics in San Mateo next and do a write-up over there as well.
Perfect. So if you can't get enough of Lee's Comics coverage just here on the Geek Speak Video Show YouTube channel, you can check out Mightyville.com and get some more information and find out just what makes Lee's such an amazing store. All right. So do you have a favorite thing that you want to tell us right now?
A favorite thing?
A favorite thing, a favorite book, a favorite movie, a favorite event. Give me a favorite.
A favorite? Yeah, we just saw Amazing Spider-Man the other night. We were pretty impressed by it. I guess my favorite comic book series of all time, which I just bought the last hardcover volume, was Preacher. So volume 6 came out about a month or so ago. I just picked that up, and that
Perfect.
rounded out my Preacher collection.
Nice. So now you've got your bookshelf is all complete.
Yep. With
Excellent.
matching, what are they called? Elbows and everything.
Oh, you got the
Yep.
so all the covers
Exactly.
are. Oh, that's so pretty. I love
My
it
own
when my
little
shelf
library.
can do that. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Hi, Louise for the Geek Speak Show here at Lee's Comics 30th Anniversary Celebration, and I am here with...
Richard Garcia.
Hi, Richard. What brings you here today?
I work here.
Oh! Well...
So I'm required to be here.
Oh.
Plus,
well,
it's our 30th anniversary sale. I normally don't work Saturdays, but for an event like this,
it's exciting.
Yeah.
All right, how long have you worked at Lee's?
14 years. Yes, much to Lee's consternation.
They just can't get rid of you, can they?
Can't get rid of me. He's tried many times, but yeah.
And how did you start working here?
I used to work for Comics and Comics, and I managed the Palo Alto store for 5 years, and that's how I got to New Lee. We were rivals.
This is actually much more dramatic than I
Yes, I know.
anticipated.
And then I worked for Comics and Comics for 12 years, and then I got tired of the new owner, and he was bouncing employees' checks and giving lousy excuses for it. So I ended up managing a Ben & Jerry's for a while, but I decided I hated food service. So I called Lee, and he remembered me, of course, and gave me a job, and the rest is history.
Great. And what do you like about working at Lee's?
The customers and the product. Of course, I love comics. You know, I've been collecting comics since I was 9 years old, and I'm 48 now. It tells you something.
You're also required to say Lee.
Oh, Lee, of course. I mean, my God.
Contractually.
I mean, that goes without saying.
Of course.
I mean, I thought that was just, you know, something you didn't have to mention because everyone knew it.
And let's see. What are your favorite comics right now? What are you reading?
Batman by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. What else? Swamp Thing by Greg Capullo. I like Scott Snyder. He's a really good writer. He also wrote a miniseries for Image called Severed, which was just collected. And I also like Captain America.
Rock.
And I like Spider-Man, but not what they're doing with it right now.
No.
I like Before Watchmen's been really good overall.
Yeah, I haven't checked it out yet.
Yeah.
It looks good.
Yeah, it's really good. They got a lot of good people doing it, you know?
Did you check out the Spider-Man movie? Or not into it at all?
That guy just doesn't exude Spider-Man to me. You
He
know?
doesn't.
No, I mean, or at least Peter Parker. You know, Tobey Maguire got Peter Parker down.
He did.
Perfectly, you know?
I really liked the new movie, but it's very much Andrew Garfield dressed
Yeah,
as Spider-Man.
yeah.
But I was okay with that.
Yeah, and I miss Kristen Dunst, so.
Aw. Emma Stone's pretty great.
Yeah, she's not bad.
But
not bad.
let's see. What do you love about working? I mean, it's really nice working at a comic shop. It's something that you love, and that's what you're doing all day.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a big part of why you've stayed so long? It's something that you feel passionate about? It's not just a job?
I owe Lee money now.
Oh, and well, shh. We'll edit that out.
No. No, I love comics. You know, like I've tried other things, but I always end up coming back to comics. Yeah. It's a more laid back atmosphere. You get to know your customers more. You know, I mean, if you work at Macy's, you know, even if you get the same customers all the time, odds are you're not going to know them by name. They're not going to know you. You're not going to become friends. I became friends with lots of customers.
Sure.
We hung out, and you know, it's great. You know. It's
And
a
at
different-
Macy's, they
Yeah.
can afford Christian Louboutins, and you're working at Macy's, so there's more of a disconnect.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right. Well, thank you very much for talking to us today.
Okay, great. Hey, I got a good time. Thank you.
Yeah, all right.
And we are here at Lee's Comics 30th anniversary, and I'm talking to Barry. Barry. That's right.
That's right.
Now, you have been shopping here for some number of years.
Well, I've known Lee for a long time.
All right. And that means, I have it on good authority, you've got the dirt.
I do. But
All
do you have
right.
the money?
We'll talk to our guy. We've got a bag man.
Remember,
in
when
the
you
back.
ask dirt, I only live so long after I tell you.
Well, it's like my English professor said, he can be bribed. You just have to put him up for the rest of his life in a lifestyle to which he would like to become accustomed.
Yes, what do you want to know?
All right. We want the good stories.
You ask the questions, I answer them.
All right.
I think.
So, what is the most shocking thing you've ever seen Lee do?
Well, I don't know, shocking's the word. He's actually done a lot of good things. He's done a lot of good things for the business. Mm-hmm. He's had a lot of good people here. He's had Jim Steranko. Tell me who else has had Jim Steranko.
I wouldn't know.
And that's good for the customers to come and see someone like that. He's had Alex Ross. He's had a lot of people here. And that's a good thing.
So he likes to bring in the talent and give the community that he's built here something a little extra, huh?
I think he cares for the customers.
Yeah. So what would you say is the nicest thing you've ever seen Lee do? We'll go that direction. Oh, he's
He
blushing.
doesn't
He's over
have
there.
enough
He's
money
blushing.
to make me say that. The nicest thing. He's probably hired Richard. That's probably the nicest thing he's ever done.
Oh yeah.
Actually, Richard is a very experienced person. I've known him for a long time. And I was surprised when I once walked into Lee's and Richard was working. And I actually went up to Richard, but mainly Lee, and said, "You made a good choice, because Richard is very experienced with the older side of this business, the older collectors. When you have a bookstore, you have to remember the older collectors. I mean, comics have been it's been years, since the 40s, right? People collect those things.
That's true.
A lot of stores do, and a lot of stores just basically stick with the brand new things. So Lee is very varied. He's and that's the way to do it. So he's a professional.
Yeah, he's got a sense of history to the store, huh?
He's been around.
Yeah. Well, when you've been around for 30 years, it helps.
He's been around longer than me, which is
Is that
not
saying
many people.
something?
I guess so.
So, what about you? Are you more of a classics collector? Or are you still getting new stuff?
I'm a little bit out of it, pretty much, to be honest. I came basically because he was having his anniversary, and it is a good thing. He's been around. And for the food, just kidding. Just kidding about the food.
Oh no, that mocha cake, it's worth coming out for.
It was good.
Yeah.
But I came to kind of support it. So I'm still a little bit of a buyer of all, a little bit new, still a little bit old, but I'm pretty much, I'll be selling him my collection soon probably, and it's a pretty big one.
Oh yeah. All right.
Anyone
so
else who wants to buy it, come and this is the time.
people who are watching, in the next couple of months, some real gems are going to be coming their way,
Could
huh?
happen.
That's right. Is there anything though that you're still looking out for that if you were to see, like walking around, if you see it show up somewhere, you're like, I still got to get that. I still have that soft spot in my heart for it.
Actually, I'm more of I know it's great,
Yeah.
so even if I have it, I just know I have to. Maybe that's a little bit of a bad thing to say because it is a business, right?
Right.
So as far as if I was, the things I would want to have are just too expensive. So they really are. But
It's the high value things that you really just like.
they,
should
everybody
be in a
has. I
museum.
think the younger people, they have a little bit of a memory associated with a certain book at a certain times. I have that. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a few books that
What books?
Justice League 21.
All right.
First time the Justice Society reappeared.
Mm-hmm.
I remember where I was walking. I remember the block I was on. I remember everything. So that book is kind of something.
It's there in your heart, huh?
And you might even associate things with your family or girlfriends or whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah. So,
Aw.
and I think if you ask a lot of younger people, they might tell you a story like that. What does something mean to you?
Absolutely.
And so they'll probably keep that forever. Ask them one about mom.
And that's really a part of what comics is so great at doing, is finding that moment in your life where you connected with a character or with a moment or something happened in your life and it just clicked for you. And then comics are that follow through and that thread that you can always come back and you can always visit and you can keep track of.
I always wanted to be an artist.
Yeah.
Or a writer. So that's how I sort of got introduced to it. I think almost everybody gets introduced to it that way.
Well, see, I'm all into story. I love
Story
the
as
story.
well. I'm pretty bad with stories because I'll critique. You were talking about Spider-Man. You don't
Yeah.
want to ask me about it, but
Uh-oh.
you haven't seen it yet, so we can't talk about it. Everybody, sorry. So go see it anyway.
Well, I'll have to go see it and then we can have a lively debate.
That's right.
That's right. All right.
Go see Batman too.
Well, I'll be
We
seeing
have to
Batman.
see that one.
Oh, please. Are you kidding me? I'm there midnight.
Wow.
All right. Well, Barry, thank you so much for coming on and
Pleasure.
chatting with us and telling us some stories.
Mhm.
It's been great. Thank you.
Bye bye.
All right. Ariel here with the Geek Speak Show, and I am talking to Tayo, one of the employees here at Lee's Comics. Why don't you say hi to everyone?
Hi, everyone.
Such a good trained monkey. All right. So you're an employee here. What do you mostly do at the store?
Sell comics.
That's right. Any particular comics?
All of them.
All the comics. All right. So what are you currently recommending for customers?
Currently, I would definitely recommend Walking Dead for sure. It's an excellent series. The Boys by Garth Ennis is an incredible one. Aquaman is surprisingly good. Jeff Johns has completely revamped that character. Everyone would enjoy him, I think, nowadays.
Wait. Aquaman? Like Aquaman?
King of the Seas.
No, but like the lamest comic book character. Come on.
He's a
really?
badass now.
He's a bad. What does he do?
He's going around, messing things up, killing people.
So
trying to-
he's a full-on badass.
He's a full-on badass now. He's putting out fires, and like Jeff Johns is constantly making fun of him in the comics, but Aquaman just literally lets the water roll off his back.
I
And,
love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. All right. So, what else are you guys? What else do you have for sale here at the store? Like, you've got the comics and you've got the comics covered, but I know you've got T-shirts and you've got
We
figurines.
got T-shirts, figurines, statues, keychains, stickers, a wide variety of things that any comic lover would enjoy, I think.
Nice. So now, how long have you been working here?
I've been working here about 9 years now, almost.
Years.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
know,
So
the
that's
long haul.
like 1/3 of the time the whole store's been open.
Yeah.
Almost. Don't. My math is close. All right. So then, what brought you to working here?
Well, initially I came out from Maui, and I was looking for a comic shop in the Bay Area, and Lee's was the first one I found, and instantly fell in love with the store because of the quality of the upkeep and quantity of comics. And eventually I got a job here, and I've been here ever since.
Yes, the story of the comic book retailer.
Yes.
I was shopping so much, it was easier to just get paid to be here.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, that's really excellent. Is there anything else that you want to be certain that our listeners and our viewers know about you or about the comics or anything else? This is your vehicle.
We get a lot of interesting people in here all the time. We've had a few celebrities. I've sold comics to Kobe Bryant and a couple pro wrestlers like Ezekiel Jackson and Kofi Kingston and various other people who come through the area. I try to get them to come through our Twitter accounts and, just keep it all open.
Now, are you the Twitter voice of Lee's Comics?
Sometimes.
Sometimes they give you that power?
Yep.
Nice. All right, so then what is the best story you have about selling comics?
Well, that would have to be when Kobe Bryant came up to the store about 8 o'clock at night, right after we had closed, and his security guard came up to the door and started tapping on the window. And I'm like, I'm sorry, sir, we're closed. You'll have to come back another time. And he said, would you open up for him? And he stepped aside, and there was Kobe Bryant.
Wait, how does anybody block Kobe Bryant?
Yeah, Kobe was standing in the back, like behind him a little bit. But once he stepped aside, I was like, oh, I know who this guy is. So I instantly opened up the store and threw the shelves open to him and said, whatever you want, man, I'll help you find it.
Must be nice.
It was a lot of fun.
And then sports guys, they read comics too, huh?
Oh, yeah, we still get people coming in talking about him all the time.
Do you remember what he bought?
I remember everything he bought. He bought Preacher Volume 1, 100 Bullets, Tales of the DC Universe, The Best of Alan Moore, because he wanted The Killing Joke, but we were all sold out at the time because it's such a popular book.
Well, The Killing Joke, I mean.
Exactly, yeah. It's hard to keep that on the shelves.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow, sweet. Well, that's a pretty sweet. I think with that, that's a capper right there.
I think so.
Thank you so much for coming and talking to us.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right.
So that's it, a wrap on the second episode of the Geek Speak Video Show from Lee's Comics in San Mateo and Mountain View. We're at the Mountain View location. 30 years of Lee's Comics. Lee is selling comics, just what he's been good at for the past 30 years. Everybody have fun?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Big turnout.
I don't see your stack. Did you go shopping or are you going to go now?
Oh, no, I've been waiting because I didn't want to carry around the, giant stack of books that's inevitably going to happen.
I got a Mjolnir keychain.
There you go. So we all had a lot of fun. Again, visit lcomics.com on the web. Stand for Lee, of course. They're on Facebook, they're on Twitter, everywhere. We'll be back on the audio show next week with a big old Comic-Con, just like Comic-Con, big old Comic-Con show. They will be on the floor, not literally. They will be.
No, I'll literally be on the floor.
And she'll call from the floor.
I will call from the floor.
And by the way, before we leave,
the floor will call me.
At the end, our newest member, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
You'll
so
hear
glad
her.
You came out today.
Thank you.
Make her debut this week on that big Comic-Con show. So that's it. We're gonna go back to the studio because it's hot, and they're gonna go shopping.